As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon on May 26, 2025, a Ukrainian Air Force pilot found himself sitting in the cockpit of a MiG-29 fighter jet, a relic of Soviet engineering. Strapped to the wings of this 40-year-old aircraft were cutting-edge French precision-guided bombs, an unlikely pairing, yet a testament to human ingenuity in times of war. Within mere minutes, this aircraft and its payload would embark on a mission so daring its designers could never have dreamt of it, striking at the heart of Russia's most formidable intelligence entity, the Federal Security Service, or FSB, all orchestrated by the synchronized precision of American GPS satellites and Ukrainian software. Held together by zip ties and a prayer, this historical undertaking rested on the shoulders of a single pilot. As the aircraft taxied toward the runway, the weight of history pressed down upon the pilot's shoulders. Attacking the FSB had been unthinkable until now, a target nestled deep within layers of security and unspoken rules that declared it untouchable. Defying these norms, the pilot was about to launch on a mission that even by Ukrainian standards was deemed audacious. His flight path would demand that he skim treetops to evade radar detection, only to climb to a perilous altitude of 5,000 meters to unleash his weapons. This sudden ascent would transform him from an invisible ghost into a glaring target lit up on every radar screen from here to Moscow. Yet within those fleeting seconds, before Russian air defenses could orchestrate a response, the pilot would have to perform his task with precision and courage. At precisely 0558 hours, the roar of twin Klimov RD-33 engines reverberated across the airbase, funneling 18,000 pounds of thrust into the morning air. The MiG-29 surged forward, propelled by a payload so improbable it seemed almost surreal. As the sun's early light bathed the runway, this Frankenstein fighter, an amalgamation of French engineering, American navigation technology, and Ukrainian resolve, soared aloft, setting course for the FSB, a monument to decades of intelligence and secrecy. At 0615 hours, the MiG-29 tore across the Ukrainian landscape, skimming a mere 50 meters above the earth. Beneath its fuselage, wheat fields bowed and scattered birds fled in startled clouds, caught in the vortex of the jet's wake. Navigating at such low altitudes was an exhausting endeavor, requiring near constant inputs on the stick and rudder, artfully dodging power lines, cell towers, and the sporadic farmhouse. But it was a necessary treachery to remain cloaked from the Russian radar systems that infested the border regions. The S-400 system securing Belgorod could pluck adversaries from the skies 400 kilometers away if they entered their gaze. On this day, however, the Earth's natural curvature became the pilot's covert ally. Flying at a scant 50 meters meant that the radar horizon was limited to about 25 kilometers, a proximity that his swift invisibility would allow him to evade unless he faltered. The coordinates aglow on his improvised iPad, crudely duct taped to the instrument panel, marked the heart of his objective. The Federal Security Service headquarters, secreted within Glovo in the Belgorod Oblast, a bare 5 kilometers from the Ukrainian frontier. This was no ordinary military stockpile or munitions dump. It was a symbol of Putin's enduring presence, a successor to the notorious KGB, a mastermind behind countless operations against Ukraine. The 2 AASM Hammer bombs poised beneath his wings encapsulated both the mechanical improbability and strategic brilliance of this mission. Designed by French engineers, these precision munitions were never intended to integrate with Soviet avionics. The MiG-29's onboard systems, relics of the 1980s, couldn't interpret GPS technology, let alone digest targeting data from satellites launched years ahead of their creation. Yet, defying this technological chasm, Ukrainian engineers hacked together a solution with battlefield ingenuity. Custom pylons, crafted in Kyiv's workshops, supported GPS antennas jerry-rigged into place. Power lines sent Soviet electricity coursing through French electronics, an impossible harmony achieved against all odds. The AASM Hammer represented a pinnacle of French military craftsmanship, transforming unguided bombs into precision-guided powerhouses. Each unit surpassed the value of an average home, boasting inertial guidance reinforced by GPS accuracy, capable of threading a 250-kilogram warhead through a specific window from 70 kilometers away. The weapon featured a rocket motor, a piece of technology that would grant it almost supersonic speeds after deployment. Yet, however advanced, the bombs needed a navigational language the MiG-29 could not speak. Thus, the iPad, modulated with bespoke software, became the conduit translating contemporary coordinates coordinates into actionable data for the bombs, paving a digital bridge where none had existed before. At 0622 hours, the aircraft reached its predetermined initial point. Responding immediately, the pilot wrenched back the control stick, causing the MiG-29 to arc steeply skyward. The altimeter unwound rapidly. 1,000 meters, 2,000, 3,000. The electronic pandemonium of warning systems crescendoed within the cockpit as Western Russia's integrated air defenses registered a hostile presence abruptly emerging into their engagement zone. The S-400 emplacement southeast of Belgorod locked on, its 92 N6 gravestone radar scouring meticulously for the fighter's trajectory and velocity profile as a lethal orchestration of response was set into motion. Yet the pilot retained a sole tactical advantage: surprise. Mere seconds stood between his climb into visibility and a coordinated Russian counteroffensive. Their operations, accustomed to predictable attack patterns, could never foresee Ukraine's unparalleled gamble. Reaching the 5,000-meter mark, the pilot executed the weapons release sequence just as the iPad confirmed optimal conditions. The tactile sensation of two thuds reverberated through the airframe as the AASM Hammers were released. Executing a rapid inverted roll, the pilot enacted a modified Immelman turn, deftly pivoting the MiG-29 back toward the protective veil of lower altitudes. Behind him, the expended munitions triggered their rockets, exhaling a plume of smoke as they catapulted along a ballistic course directly toward Glovo. Guided by GPS and inertial navigation, the bombs autonomously made fractional corrections, ensuring pinpoint accuracy. The toss bombing maneuver drawn upon today dates back to the Cold War era, designed for nuclear-armed aircraft needing to discharge ordnance without engaging directly above enemy capitals. Simple in theoretical conception, it posed formidable risks when faced with modern air defense sophistication. Russian countermeasures, however, were swift but misaligned. A pair of 48 N6 missiles hurtled off their rails, targeting what was essentially a fleeting Spectre, yet the MiG had already descended back to a hedge-height altitude, executing evasive maneuvers that challenged the interceptor's ability to maintain pursuit. These anti-aircraft projectiles, calibrated for high-trajectory aircraft, could only traverse empty skies as the MiG vanished from radar scopes. With less than 2 minutes remaining until impact, those within Glovo could hardly perceive the approach of retribution sweeping across the morning sky. Guided by sightless satellites and impenetrable technology, these two AASM Hammers encapsulated 30 years worth of advancement in precision warfare, condensed into formidable 250-kilogram packages. Clear at the pinnacle of their trajectory at 8,000 meters, the onboard systems conducted calculations that would have demanded entire rooms of analysts a mere 50 years prior. Each bomb, sophisticated in itself, acted as 3 weapons in conjunction. Initially, a guidance section employing a synchronous dance of military GPS and ring laser gyroscopes, ready to navigate autonomously if satellite communiques were obstructed. French architects of the AASM anticipated adversaries might employ GPS jamming, thus dual navigation systems ensured infallible guidance. The inertial system alone guaranteed proximity within 10 meters of the target, operating under principles of momentum and stored inertial coordinates. Most crucial was the central configuration, the component that poised the AASM as a veritable hybrid missile. While American JDAM variants guided only passively, the French insertion of a solid fuel rocket transformed the bomb into an actively maneuvering projectile, achieving a 70-kilometer reach and furnished with ample energy reserves for breaching fortified positions. This motor operated briefly but sufficiently, thrusting the bomb to speeds that complicated terminal interception, achieving Mach 0.8 as it careened earthward. Meanwhile, the tail assembly, comprised of adaptable control surfaces, facilitated manned guidance countless times per second, achieving intricate curves, recalibrating for complementary angles of attack, and, presently, directing the bombs toward a nearly vertical intercept through the FSB building's ceiling. At 0627 hours, the moment of culmination arrived as the initial bomb's radar proximity fuse discerned the building's roof speedily approaching, traveling at a rate of 250 meters per second. Execution of detonation was thus precisely timed after ascertaining vector, velocity, and pre-programmed parameters, with the warhead exploding in calculated alignment with interior structural weaknesses. Shortly fired in its wake by a mere fraction of premeditated delay, the second AASM hit its mark, calibrated to magnify structural disarray over a defined radius, ensuring maximized architectural incapacitation. As they descended, these sentinels of international communication rendered judgment upon Putin's old domain. In Glovo, Senior Lieutenant Smirnov cradled a porcelain cup of tea in his office sanctuary when the S-400's vigilant early warning radar detected precipitous signals 40 kilometers from their encampment. The computer suspected Ukrainian MiG-29 scaling heights abnormally from low-altitude confines based on proprietary, even basic combat flight path diagnostics. With the vital countdown already begun, Smirnov's options rapidly contracted. The S-400 system, colloquially championed as one of the pinnacle air defense arrays globally, compromised interlocking components each engineered for deadly unity. At its helm, the 92 N6 Gravestone radar could survey multifarious targets with panoptic persistence, reaching beyond 600 kilometers in capacity. The 48 N6 missile roster, prone to high-altitude snaring engagements, boasted ascendancy from sea-level ascent to meteoric 30,000-meter vaults, capable of ballistic interception. However, despite its high technological acumen, such imposing potency unveiled its fundamental defect: response time. For low-altitude blips akin to the Ukrainian incursion, the surveillance-to-firing solution took approximately 10 seconds, piecing target identity and contriving lock-ons before sparking missiles to activity. Fire commands translated into action, with assembled flight wings hurtling through the skies within a trifling 3-second post-leaving rails delay. But efficacious timelines hinged on complacent aerial adversaries, not warriors bent on unconventional gambits. Strategically disempowered, the S-400's execution erred. Massive confines of antidote were not for efficiency in brokered surgical intercepts turned prime jurisdiction. Physics of avert proportion affronted aerial mitigation attempts. Analogous to wielding a colossal hammer for minuscule fly swatting, the equation failed. The streaking trajectory of guided munitions cut deeply past the cumbersome reach of missile response. Vertical plummets, rendering diminutive and elusive targets akin to myths. Crucially, two 48 N6 projectiles dashed furiously from their berth, defying diverging calculations, crossing microcosmic geometries divergent from the forthcoming wreckage's prospective whereabouts. While conventional circumstances might have promised interactive nemesis, the coursing temporal acceleration of bombs veering before explosions pronounced their resounding absence from affectation. The epitome of Russian air modernity dissipated momentum through directionless sky. Precisely at 0627 hours, echoing bursts permeated Glovo's surroundings as the AASM launched through FSB headquarters' roofing membranes. Solidified ordnances transforming as combustion poured molten copper torrents, cleaving built infrastructure's fragile facade. The programmed delay counted fractions wherein constituent release set off tandem of annihilation, transformative from solidified dormancy into incinerated tumult, sealing Soviet-era mystery remnants beneath newly smoldering rubble. Within confines of collapse, explosive propagation equipped sway within bounds still standing. Forces rebounded, accelerating destruction manifold. Pressure peaks unfurled, breaking glass in convulsions spiraling sporadic distances afield. Long-range repercussions of engineered defeat. Once secure inner confines disintegrated into potent vectors conveying confidential carrier signals scattershot amid utter systemic ruin. Pausing mere milliseconds before felicitation, a second asynchronous detonation inflicted reciprocal furrowing. Demolition obeyed orderly directive. Orchestrated synchrony repeated receptive enactment as compromised structures sapped cohesion, provoking cyclical annihilations cascading. Genesis of tangible ruin ensued, methodically decimating stabilizing descent until cohesion's tether unraveled wholly. The FSB's fortress of knowledge yielded utterly, floors displacing floors in orchestrated choreography of ruinous encroachment. In less than the span of seconds, the symbol of Russian strategic prudence and intelligence abruptly transitioned into public vestige of unanswered plot lines, anomalies for post-war Pundai remaining fractured narrative writ large. This is gobamilitary. Subscribe for more real-time battlefield breakdowns and tactical deep dives.